My name is Claire. Most people in my neighborhood just call me Auntie Claire, the older lady who keeps a neat garden, feeds stray cats, and bakes more cookies than anyone actually asked for. But there's a part of my life almost no one knows about. A part one buried so deep inside me that even I sometimes believed it was gone. Until the day a small child walked into my house and drew it onto a piece of paper. A past I never told a soul. A secret I had locked away for more than 30 years. A memory tied to someone I loved and someone I lost. This is the story of the child who drew my past. The ordinary day that wasn't. It was a warm Saturday morning, the kind of day when sunlight feels soft rather than sharp. I had just finished watering the lilies when I heard a knock on my door. Soft, polite, almost hesitant. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened it. A little boy stood there, 6, maybe 7 years old. Dark curly hair, bright brown eyes, a backpack hanging loosely from one shoulder. I had never seen him before. He looked up at me as if he already knew me. "Are you Auntie Claire?" I blinked. Most kids in the neighborhood did know me, but I had never seen this boy. "Yes, sweetheart," I replied. "That's what people call me." "Do you need something?" He smiled. A slow, gentle smile. "My mom said I can stay here for a little. She said you wouldn't mind." I stiffened a little. "Your mom?" I repeated. "Who is your mother?" But instead of answering, he walked past me, straight into my living room, as though he had been there 100 times before. I froze. This wasn't normal. I stepped inside and closed the door, more out of habit than choice. The boy had already put his backpack on the couch and was looking around, studying my photographs, the mantelpiece, the old piano. "This place feels the same," he whispered. "The same as what?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he sat down at my coffee table, unzipped his bag, and pulled out a notebook and a handful of crayons. Then he looked up at me with that same soft smile. "Can I draw here, Auntie?" I hesitated. Something in his voice, something in his eyes. It made my chest tighten. Uncomfortable, confused, almost afraid. But I forced a smile. "Of course, sit wherever you like." He nodded politely and leaned over the paper. And just like that, he began to draw. A strange feeling I couldn't shake. I tried to continue with my morning, making tea, tidying the kitchen. But something felt wrong. Not dangerous, not threatening. Just wrong. Like a song you recognize but can't remember from where. Every few seconds I glanced at the boy. He wasn't doodling random shapes or coloring cartoons like most kids. He was drawing something very specific, focused, serious. His small hand moved quickly, almost too skillfully for a child his age. And the way he studied the page, he looked like someone sketching a memory. Finally, I walked over and asked gently, "What are you drawing, sweetheart?" He didn't look up. "You'll see," he whispered. That sent a chill down my spine. A quiet one. A small one, but enough to make me swallow. I took a seat across from him, watching the page slowly fill with lines. A room, a window, a tree outside. I frowned. It felt familiar. Too familiar. But no, it couldn't be. He kept drawing. A chair, a rug, a small wooden table. I pressed my hands together to stop them from shaking. "That can't be what I think it is." He added a little girl, sitting on the floor, crying into her hands. My heart stopped. No one knew about that room. No one knew about that day. No one knew that I, at 8 years old, once hid inside that exact room after witnessing something no child ever should. No one, not my parents, not my late husband, not even my best friend. I had never told a soul, but this boy had just drawn it. The living room went silent. I leaned forward, my voice barely steady. "Sweetheart, where did you see that place?" He still didn't look up. "I didn't see it," he said softly. "I remember it." My breath caught in my throat. "You remember it?" I whispered. "How?" This time he finally lifted his eyes. Calm, warm, old. Not old like an elderly man. Old like someone who had lived more than one life. "I've been there before," he said. "Before I came here." The room felt colder suddenly. I forced myself to breathe. "What's your name?" I asked quietly. He paused, as if thinking carefully before answering. "Ethan," he said. "My name is Ethan." I closed my eyes for a second. Ethan. The same name as my little brother, my baby brother, who died when I was 8. The same day I cried in that room he just drew. My hands began to shake. Who sent you here?" I whispered. He tilted his head, studying me as if he could see right through my skin. "You called me," he said simply. "I called you?" I repeated. "Yes." He tapped his own chest. "When you cried last night," my throat tightened. I had cried the night before, quietly, alone in my bedroom, the same way I did every year on the anniversary of my brother's death. But this child wasn't here. He couldn't have heard me. He couldn't. The boy pushed the drawing toward me gently. Do you remember this place, Auntie? I swallowed hard. Yes, I remembered it too well. My childhood house. The dusty back room no one used. The place I hid after my brother's accident. The accident I blamed myself for. Tears burned my eyes. Yes, I whispered. I remember. The boy smiled softly. I know, he said. That's why I came. The weight of memories. I sat back, stunned, staring at the child. He was too calm, too confident, too knowing. Children didn't talk like this. Children didn't draw memories they never lived. Children didn't walk into strangers' homes and say, I came because you cried. My heartbeat was loud in my ears. Ethan, can you tell me more? I asked gently. He shrugged. An oddly adult gesture. Not yet. He said, You're still scared. I'm not scared. I lied. He smiled knowingly. You've been scared since the day you closed that room. A shiver moved through me. No one knew that. No one knew I begged my father to lock that room forever after my brother died. No one knew he nailed the door shut because I refused to sleep otherwise. But this child knew everything. Who are you? I whispered. He looked out the window, eyes soft. Someone who remembers you, he said quietly. Someone who remembers me. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. I felt 8 years old again. The child reached into his backpack again. I have more to draw, he said. There's a lot you forgot. Something deep inside me twisted. What else? I asked shakily. He looked up. His eyes suddenly filled with an emotion a child shouldn't understand. Sorrow. You forgot the promise you made, he whispered. My jaw tightened. What promise? He picked up a blue crayon and drew a second figure behind the crying little girl. A boy, small, fragile, smiling sadly. My baby brother. My lungs froze. I hadn't thought about that promise in years. I barely remembered it myself. A small voice echoed in my memory. Claire, don't leave me alone. Promise. A promise I broke the day he died. I covered my mouth. Tears spilled down my cheeks silently. Promise? A promise I broke the day he died. I covered my mouth. Tears spilled down my cheeks silently. The boy named Ethan slid his little hand across the table, placing it gently on mine. It's okay, Auntie, he whispered. You don't have to hide it anymore. The touch was warm, comforting, familiar. Too familiar. My vision blurred with tears. Who sent you here? I whispered again. His answer made my heart stop. My brother, he said. The room felt too quiet after Ethan said those words. My brother sent me. My heart was pounding so loudly I could hear the pulse in my ears. I tried to speak, but my voice came out thin, almost broken. Yay, your brother? I whispered. Do you mean? He nodded before I could finish. Yes, he said softly. Your brother, the one you lost. A cold tremor ran through me, like someone had dragged a finger slowly down my spine. That's impossible, I whispered. Maybe, he murmured. But it's still true. He said it so simply, like he was telling me the sky was blue or the grass was green. Children lie. Children imagine. Children make up stories. But this child, he wasn't lying. He wasn't imagining. He believed every word. And something deep inside me, something I had locked away for decades, believed him too. The second drawing. Ethan lifted another blank page and began drawing again, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. This time, the lines came slower. More careful. He drew a lake. My breath caught. Not just any lake. The one behind my grandparents' old farmhouse. The one where my brother and I used to play. The one where the accident happened. My palms went cold. How do you know that place? I whispered. He didn't answer. He kept drawing. The wooden dock. The tall grass. The crooked willow tree leaning over the water. My heartbeat grew uneven. It looked exactly like it did the year my brother died. Ethan added 2 small figures on the dock. A young girl. And a boy standing behind her, holding her hand. I blinked. No, I whispered. That didn't happen. He finally looked up at me, eyes steady. You don't remember, right? He said gently. That's why I came. A knot tightened in my chest. What are you talking about? I said, voice cracking. I remember everything. I was there. You remember the fear, he said. But not the truth. My breath hitched. What truth? He pushed the drawing toward me. My fingers trembled as I picked it up. You weren't alone, he whispered. He didn't fall because of you. My stomach twisted. He didn't know what he was talking about. He couldn't know. I had spent 30 years blaming myself. Because I was the one holding my brother's hand on that dock. I was the one who ran when the snake came out of the grass. I was the one who let go. And he slipped. He slipped because I let go. It was my fault, I whispered shakily. I let go of him. Ethan shook his head firmly. That's not what happened. Tears burned my eyes. Sweetheart, I was there. I remember. No, he whispered. You remember being afraid, but you forgot that he pushed you away so you wouldn't see. My head snapped up. What? Ethan pointed to the drawing, to the small boy pushing the girl's hand away. He didn't want you to see the snake. He wanted you to run. My chest tightened painfully. He was trying to protect you, Auntie. My world tilts. I stared at the drawing until my vision blurred. No, I whispered. No, that's not possible. But memories were stirring inside me, faint, blurred, buried under fear. A scream, a splash, a small hand shoving mine. Run, Claire. My body trembled. Had that really happened? Or was I losing my mind? I pressed my hands to my face. What are you? I whispered through my fingers. How do you know these things? I told you, Ethan murmured. Someone who remembers you. That wasn't an answer. Not one my brain could accept. But my heart wasn't fighting him anymore. A presence in the room. The air felt heavy. Not dangerous, but full. Like someone else was there. I glanced behind me. Nothing. But I felt something. A warmth. A nearness. Like standing next to a memory that was alive. Ethan noticed my reaction and smiled softly. You feel him, don't you? I swallowed. I don't know what I feel. He nodded knowingly. He's been around you for a long time. I shivered. I don't believe in ghosts, I whispered. You don't have to, Ethan said. He's not a ghost. Then what is he? Ethan paused thoughtfully. He's unfinished love. I stared at him. Breath caught in my throat. Unfinished love. My brother. My guilt. My forgotten promise. Yes, that sounded right. Too right. The forgotten promise. Ethan began drawing again. Smaller strokes this time. Gentler. A hand. A tiny hand. Holding a flower. A daisy. My chest tightened painfully. No one knew this. No one but me and my brother. It was the night before the accident. He had picked a daisy and held it out to me. Claire, promise you'll never leave me alone. Children say dramatic things. Big sisters make big promises. I made mine. I promise. I'll never leave you. But the next day, I ran. I left him, and he drowned. I broke my promise. For 30 years, that guilt lived inside me like a cold stone. Now a child was drawing it, stroke by stroke, on my coffee table. Ethan slid the drawing over. You didn't leave him, he said softly. He let you go. I shook my head violently. No, I don't accept that. I can't. Auntie. His voice softened so much that it didn't sound like a child anymore. He forgave you a long time ago. I froze. He just needed you to forgive yourself. The boy who was too wise. I stared at him, trying to understand how a 6-year-old could speak with the tenderness of someone who had lived a lifetime. How old are you, Ethan? I whispered. He shrugged. I'm 6. 6-year-olds don't talk like this. He smiled at me. A slow, sad, knowing smile. Well, maybe I'm not just 6. The room seemed to tilt again. What are you saying? He looked down at his hands quietly. Sometimes people come back in pieces, he said. And sometimes those pieces remember things. Ethan, are you saying you're my brother? He shook his head. No, I'm not him. He tapped his chest. But I have pieces of him. Pieces. Pieces of a soul. Pieces of a memory. Pieces of unfinished love. My skin prickled. What do you mean? He spoke slowly, carefully, as if choosing each word gently. Some children are born carrying memories that don't belong to them. Feelings that aren't theirs. Names they shouldn't know. Places they've never been. I felt dizzy. You mean like reincarnation? He shrugged. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know the big words. He leaned forward. But I know your brother loved you. And I know you never let him go. Not really. A tear rolled down my cheek. How? I whispered. Because I feel it, he said. When I dream, I see you. Silence that hurt. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the soft scratch of the crayon, as Ethan added water ripples around the dock. I watched his small hand move. Gentle, focused, almost tender. You came here, I whispered slowly. Because I cried last night? He nodded. That's when I heard you. Not with my ears. With something else. Another shiver. What did you hear? He met my eyes. You said his name. My heart twisted. Yes, I had whispered my brother's name while crying. I thought no one heard. But someone did. Someone small. Someone unknown. Someone carrying pieces of a boy I once loved. The question I was afraid to ask. I swallowed hard and asked the one question I feared the most. Ethan, what do you want from me? He blinked, surprised. Nothing, Then why are you here? His voice softened. To give back something you lost. I frowned. What did I lose? He looked down at his drawings. Yourself. A truth I didn't expect. I stared at him, confused. What do you mean I lost myself? You stopped being you, he said. The day he died, my breath hitched. You locked away the part of you that loved him, the part that laughed, the part that forgave. He placed his hand on the drawing of the daisy. You locked away the child you were. My throat tightened painfully. And I came, he whispered, to open that room. That room, the locked back room of my childhood. The locked room in my heart. The room I shut the day my brother died. You're here, I whispered shakily, to make me remember. He nodded. Yes. He flipped to one last blank page. Can I draw one more thing before I tell you the rest? He asked. I nodded silently. He drew slower this time. A girl, older now. A woman, standing beside a child, and behind them, a faint outline of a boy made of light. My breath trembled. He looked at me. This is the truth, he whispered. You were never alone. He stayed. He always stayed. A tear slipped down my cheek. Part of him, Ethan continued, became part of me, so I could come here and bring you back to yourself. Auntie stared at the closed door of the children's room, her breath trembling. For years, she had kept that door locked, not because it was dangerous, but because it held a memory she never wanted to relive. The boy's drawing. The lake. The drowned woman's hand reaching toward her. It was all connected to this room. She slowly turned the doorknob. The hinges cried as if warning her. Inside, the air was cold. Colder than any room in the house. As if the room had been waiting. The boy followed her silently, his eyes fixed on the far corner. That corner. The exact place where Auntie used to sit and cry after the accident. Where she hid the letter. Where she whispered apologies to someone long gone. Auntie swallowed hard. How do you know this place? She asked, her voice barely a breath. The boy didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the corner, bent down, and touched the floor. Here, he said softly. She was here. Auntie froze. She who? She whispered. The boy looked up at her, his face too calm, too knowing for a child. The woman you left behind, he said. The one who still waits for you. Auntie's heart slammed against her ribs. No, she whispered. I didn't leave her. I tried to save her. The boy blinked slowly, not judging, simply stating facts that he should not know. She doesn't blame you, he said, but she wants you to finish what you started. A cold wind swept through the room, lifting the dust from the forgotten toys. The lights flickered. Then Auntie heard it. A whisper, soft, familiar. Her name. She stumbled back, her fingers gripping the doorframe. Tears blurred her vision. No, I can't do this again, she said, shaking. The boy stood, holding another blank sheet of paper. I can draw it, he said. But you have to look. Auntie shook her head violently. No, please. Don't show me. But the boy had already begun. His hand moved fast, almost too fast for a child. Lines appeared, dark, sharp, urgent. Auntie didn't want to see. She squeezed her eyes shut. But the room forced her. The temperature dropped further. The whisper grew louder. Her name echoed from the walls. She opened her eyes. The child held the drawing toward her. It wasn't the accident this time. It was a door, the same door she was standing in front of. And on the other side of the drawn door, a shadowy figure was waiting. Tall, still, watching. Auntie's throat tightened. I don't understand, she whispered. The boy stepped closer, holding the drawing up to her chest. You have to open it, he said. The real one. Not this. Auntie looked at him in confusion. The real one. Which door? The boy pointed behind her. Auntie turned. There was nothing but a blank wall. No, the boy whispered. It used to be a door, before you sealed it. Auntie's knees weakened. Her breath quickened. Her fingers shook. Because he was right. There was a door once. A small wooden door that led to the basement stairs. The same stairs where a loud knock interrupted her thoughts. Auntie gasped. The boy smiled faintly. She's here. The knock echoed again, slow, heavy, and deliberate. Auntie stood frozen, staring at the blank wall. The boy insisted used to be a door. Her heart thrummed painfully against her ribs. That's impossible, she whispered. There's no door left. I had it sealed. Years ago. The boy tilted his head. Sealing a door doesn't seal a memory. He stepped forward, tapping the wall lightly, and she remembers. Even if you tried to forget. Auntie backed away from the wall, shaking her head. I didn't forget. I tried. Every day. I tried to live with it. I tried to forgive myself. Another knock. This one harder. Like something or someone, was growing impatient. The room trembled. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The boy held up the drawing again, the one that showed the tall shadow waiting behind the door. "Auntie," he whispered. "She's been alone too long." Auntie gasped as a crack began to split through the wall, thin at first, then widening like a wound opening. No, stop," she choked. "You don't understand. She died because of me." The crack turned into a glowing line, outlining a shape. A door. The door she buried with plaster and paint. Her knees buckled. She sank to the floor, sobbing. "I tried to save her," she whispered. She slipped. She hit her head. I ran for help. But the boy knelt beside her, placing a small hand on her shaking arm. "She knows." The doorknob, now visible through the glowing outline, slowly turned. Auntie's breath caught in her throat. The room's temperature dropped so sharply, her tears felt cold on her cheeks. The door opened. Just an inch. Just enough to release a soft, fragile sound. A woman's breath. Her voice. Ira. Auntie's world shattered. She hadn't heard that name in years. Only one person had ever called her that. Her sister. Auntie crawled backward across the floor, trembling. "No, please, don't come. I can't see you like that again." But the door creaked wider, and a pale hand, thin, trembling, almost transparent, reached through the narrow gap. The same hand Auntie had tried to grab the night of the accident. The same hand she failed to hold on to. Auntie screamed, but the boy grabbed her shoulders firmly, surprisingly strong, impossibly strong. "You have to finish it," he said. "You left her alone in the dark." The hand beckoned. Auntie felt her chest crush under guilt and grief. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I didn't leave you. I swear I didn't leave you." The hand reached further, fingers stretching toward her face. And then the boy did something strange. He held his drawing up high, covering Auntie's view. "Auntie," he said gently. "Look." She hesitated, shaking. "Look." She finally lifted her eyes. The drawing had changed. The shadow behind the door was gone. Now it showed two women, holding hands by a lake, smiling. One was Auntie. The other was her sister. Auntie gasped. "That's impossible." The boy whispered. "She forgave you before she died. You just never forgave yourself." A warm wind swept through the room. Warm, not cold. The pale hand gently touched Auntie's cheek. Not accusing, not haunting, comforting. Auntie closed her eyes as a deep, aching peace filled her chest. The hand slowly retreated. The door closed on its own. The cracks faded. The wall returned to being just a wall. Auntie opened her eyes. The boy stood silently. "Who are you?" she whispered. The boy smiled, soft, distant. "A friend," he said. "One who draws what people hide." Auntie swallowed. "Will I see her again?" The boy nodded. "When you're no longer afraid." He walked toward the exit. Auntie tried to follow, but he stopped her with a single sentence. "I won't be back. My work is done." And then, just as he stepped into the hallway, he vanished. Like he had never been there. Auntie collapsed to her knees, breathing hard, but lighter than she had felt in years. Behind her, on the floor, the final drawing remained. Two sisters, hand in hand. No more shadows. The past was finally closed.